But words in itself, you have the power to change those.
Yes.
So one of my friends just said, oh, I can't afford that. And I said, okay, let's change that.
Yeah.
Take that back and just say,
You're going to love today's interview with the amazingly energetic, down-to-earth, chart-topping Hall of Fame fitness instructor and star of 22 Buns of Steal home workout videos, Tamilee Webb. Tamilee has helped millions of people get in shape through the years, and she continues to inspire and motivate today. Learn her story and tips for following your heart and going after your dreams.
Tamilee, thank you so much for coming out here today and hanging out with me. Like, this is the coolest thing.
there's nothing like hanging out with fun girls.
I know, seriously.
And girls that, oh my gosh, look at those legs.
Oh, these.
Please.
You're too nice.
No, really. That's why mine are covered up.
Oh,
but
you walked in, I was like, dang, girl, you look amazing. But you're just so inspiring in so many ways. Like, even when we first talked on the phone, I was like, okay, I haven't met you in person, but I already know that I'm going to dig you. Like, we're just going to get along.
Yeah, we're girl talk.
We are having girl talk here.
And we're going to let you all listen in.
Yes. So welcome. So, you know, your name is famous for all of the workout videos, the fitness videos and everything that you've done, Buns of Steal, Abs of Steel, all of that. Like, to me, you're just like, you know, I think of you and just go, oh my gosh, fitness expert, beautiful inside and out. And,
thank you.
And you're just inspiring that you've been just, you know, following your passion for all these years. Like, to me, that's just awesome.
That's a key word. I always ask this, the one thing I always ask people is that if you could be doing anything, what is it?
Right.
What is your passion? And that's what you should be doing, because if you're doing your passion, it's not a job.
Right.
Sometimes people will say, oh, that's just a hobby. It's like, it's not a hobby.
Right.
You're good at that.
Yeah.
You need to share that with the world. So yeah, I got really blessed to be able to do what I love doing. And it was more about helping people. So how can I better people feeling better in their bodies? And at that time, back in the early 90s, it was all about videos, VHS, which nobody has now, right?
Oh, but when you see, those are pretty good. I have one VHS player, by the way, just to play the VHS tapes. Yeah, I'm like, we are never getting rid of that because I have some good VHSs, but anyway.
But it's, it was just a way to reach more people because, as you know, when we teach in a Group X class, you're limited to how many people are in the class. So if it only holds 30, you've got 30 people.
Yeah.
But I thought, wow, if I can reach more people, then I can help more people through video.
Right.
And back in those days, we didn't have social media. Social media here is that it was all about, I think, Buns of Steal, the Platinum, was the first fitness infomercial.
Wow.
That did
That's so
extremely
neat.
well. So
oh my gosh.
that was my social media back then.
Yeah, that is so cool. And then, so how did, I want to hear like really about, can we just go back like to where, you know, where it all began? Like, where were you raised? And then how did this all come? Because some people think like, oh, it just happened for her out of luck, or, you know, but I would love to hear like how you got into all this.
So I call it from the farm to fitness to fame. And I grew up in Northern California on a very small little farm, and I had 3 brothers, and I know how to milk a cow, I know how to ride a horse, and I think it was a really good beginning. I play guitar, I love country music, but I had to be very active with all my brothers. And my dad was, before he got married, played semi-pro baseball. So baseball was in our family.
Yeah.
So anyway, this is up by the big redwood forest in a little town called Rio Dale. But as kids, we called it Real Doll.
Oh my gosh, of course you
couldn't
did.
wait to get out of there.
That's funny.
So, yeah, I just, from there, I went on to college and I went to Chico State. So I had decided that I wanted to go into nursing but couldn't stand the sight of blood.
No,
so then I decided, well, maybe I'll go into phys ed. And at that time, the only thing that was really offered was as a phys ed instructor or teacher, right?
Wow.
So I went through all that, and then my professor said, you know, they're opening up strength coaching to women. Wow. So that's where I kind of got into the whole weight training, and I realized I liked what it did for my body and I could help others.
Right.
I walked into, at that time it was Family Fitness.
Oh, yeah.
Walked in and they were doing aerobic classes. And I took this class from a girl named Mindy, and I'll never forget it. She was just so full of energy and this big smile. And anyway,
so
I went
cool.
back to Chico, and I decided I'm going to teach aerobic dance. Wow. So I did it at the school, and I remember it was so popular that in the first class, and I had a boombox. Yep, it was a boombox,
Did
right?
you hold it up here or in your hand?
No, I set it on the floor, but it was the boombox in a gymnasium, so you can only imagine how awful the acoustics were, right? Okay, so the strength coaching right now, the only strength coaching school that had that type of program was in Nebraska.
Okay.
And so he goes, I really think that you should, you know, try and get into that because you're doing bodybuilding, blah, blah, blah. So I did it, and I actually got accepted, and then I went, wait a minute. I don't want to move to Nebraska. I just got off the farm. I'm not moving to Nebraska. I love California. I am a California girl.
Yeah.
My name might be kind of from the South, but I am California all the way.
Yeah.
So I ended up staying, and he said, well, we are just opening up a new division called exercise science, which now today they call kinesiology.
Right.
And I just loved it because what it taught me was I got to go in and see how the body really operates from the inside out. So when I look at an exercise, I look at it and I go, okay, let's break that down. As opposed to, oh, how does this look? You know, I'm doing a side leg lift, or I'm doing a forward flexion
What's
rotation.
the purpose of it?
Right. Let's break this down. So you break it down and you go, okay, so what's the major muscle group and what's assisting? And is there anything that's being injured?
Right.
Can all people? It was just like I couldn't
Can
get
everybody
enough.
do this? Or
I couldn't get enough of it. So I realized I'm going to stay there.
Yeah.
And I finished my master's degree in exercise science in like a year and a half.
Awesome.
So my car is packed. I'm ready to move to San Diego. And I get down here, and you're thinking, hey, I have a degree. I have a master's degree, right?
Yeah. Everyone's going to want me.
Yeah, everybody wants me. There's a job.
Yeah.
And what I learned was, wow, there wasn't really a job. But then I wasn't really clear on what it is that I wanted to do.
Okay.
Because I was kind of overqualified to teach high school.
Right.
I was underqualified in the colleges.
Okay.
So then I thought, well, maybe I'll go back to school and do physical therapy. So I go in, and I'm noticing they're using rubber bands.
Okay.
I'm like, okay, why are you using a rubber band?
Yeah.
And the guy says, well, because a rubber band stretches, and so it's a way for them to use the resistance on the extension.
Okay.
And then remember, the band comes back, and you have to resist it.
Right.
So you've got a resistance on the positive and the negative. And maybe that person's not quite ready for a dumbbell. So if you put a dumbbell and they're doing a leg extension because they've had a knee injury or something. Another form is water. Water is a form of resistance. So a rubber band is another way that we use it for rehabilitation. And I thought, well, why couldn't we just use that for working out, right?
And they were really using rubber bands, right?
They were
like giant rubber bands.
Well, they were
that big.
They were like about this big, and today I think they use more tubing type of stuff, or the flat TheraBands.
Right.
You remember those?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so I went to the director that was the head of directing the classes there, and I said, have you ever thought of rubber bands? And she goes, yeah, you know, we'll put them on the legs and use them sometimes. And I'm like, oh my gosh, you could create a whole thing, right? Yeah. So I started experimenting with them, but the only bands at that time were office supply bands. So you go to the office supply store, and the biggest band you could get, I think, was, gosh, I want to say it was like a 5-inch band.
Okay.
So we get those around your ankle, and then you would, you know, do the lifting, and they started breaking. Boing, 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 you know.
Close your eyes when you hear
because
this now.
exactly. And there's 3 things that I always try and follow in my exercise, is that exercise should be safe, it should be effective, and it should be fun.
Oh, yes.
Because you don't want anybody injured.
Right.
It should be effective because they're coming for you for results, right?
Yes.
And if it's fun, they're going to come back.
Right.
So those are my 3 things. And so I realized that this ban, it was not really, you know, making it. But so to speed up a little bit, I then had decided I could put a whole program together with these bands.
Right.
And it actually, that was my first book, was the Rubber Band Workout.
That is so cool.
That sold, gosh, I don't know, maybe 500,000, close to 1 million. And it went in 5 different languages. And it since then is out of publication. But yeah,
that is so neat.
So I never went into PT.
Right. That wasn't meant to be,
But,
right?
Right. But what did I get from it? It was the rubber band.
Mm-hmm. That's
But
interesting.
it goes on from there. So this whole opportunity thing was, so I found myself running around teaching at all these different places and doing women's bodybuilding.
Okay, wow.
And, but about that time, and this is like 1983, and I realized that women's bodybuilding was kind of taking a different turn.
Okay.
Like the women were getting bigger.
Yeah.
And what I liked about it was when you could take a woman's body and make it, you know, the best that it can be. But, you know, everybody's body's different. We had mentioned this a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
Mesomorph, ectomorph, and endomorph. There's different body types.
Right.
So what body type are you? And as it turns out, my thesis in my master's program was on women's bodybuilding.
Oh my gosh.
And what I wanted to find out was, does women's bodies change hormonally if you're lifting weights? Because somebody will say, well, you lift weights, guess what?
Yeah.
You're going to get
bulk up,
huge legs. You're going to get, you're going to turn into a man.
Yeah.
Like, you can't turn into a man. So we did this study, and absolutely not. There, you know, if you lose enough body fat, because women need more body fat for reproduction, then yes, it shuts down the reproduction system for a while. But no, you're not going to turn into a man. Some women are able to bulk up better than others.
Right.
You and I are a perfect example of that because we are a body that we call a mesomorph.
Okay.
So we develop muscle very easily. Most of your athletes are mesomorph or ectomeso. So an ectomorph is a person that usually are long distance runners. They can run and run and run and run, and they can almost feel like they can eat anything and they don't gain any weight, right? So, but they have a hard time building muscle.
Right.
But if you're a combination, then, and as a meso and ecto, that's a great combination because you have the ability to build the muscle, but to lose the fat.
Okay.
And so that is your Michael Jordans. Those are your, you know, anybody you see that just looks so fit and healthy.
Like Gabrielle Reese.
Yes.
Like she would be in my head like
oh
that.
Oh my
like
gosh. Her
long,
and I
muscular, you
were
know?
on spring break.
Are you serious?
Seriously.
Oh my gosh, that's weird. I would say her name.
Yes.
That's funny.
And Lake Havasu. And I was just in awe. I'm looking at her and I'm just like, wow.
Yeah.
And not only is she physically beautiful, she was a beautiful person on the inside too.
I could see that. Yeah.
Really.
But that would be in my head, the combo. But that's funny. Okay.
But yeah, so you kind of have to look at what's my body makeup, because sometimes people, I'm sure you get this, well, gosh, how do I look like you?
Right.
Well, we don't have the same parents. So
yeah.
our bodies first start.
First off, we don't, that's funny. I'm gonna say
genetically
that from now on.
from our parents.
Yeah.
But it is up to us to keep them healthy and fit.
Right.
But one of the things that I had said to you a little bit earlier, and you said, oh, let's talk about this on camera, is what is your philosophy? And my philosophy about fitness is that it really isn't all this that you all see, but that's the only thing you see of us, right? So it's the first thing anybody sees of other as well as yourself.
Yes.
But to me, fitness, being healthy and fit, is really from the inside out.
I 100% agree.
Starts from the inside. But we cannot unzip our body and take a look inside. And if we could do that, what would it look like? You know, would we have a healthy heart? Yeah. Would our lungs look really clear and clean? But we don't look, we can't see that. It's something we personally will eventually feel. But if we could do that, I'd be like, Molly, look at those lungs. Dang, girl, you're doing something right.
That's so funny.
But we can't do that.
Right.
And so what we do is we see something on the outside, and then it's like, oh, wow, that's what I want. So I named one of my, and this was after post Buns of Steel, and it's a series called I Want Those.
Oh.
I want those arms. I want those abs.
That's smart.
I want that body. And how I came up with that, I was in one of the video stores. We had video stores back then.
Blockbuster, whatever they were
And
called.
I'm standing there, and I'm looking at these videos, and there's these two girls, and they're looking at them, and they're like, "That's what I want. I want those arms. And I thought, that's a great title. So again, I always look at things and go, this is an opportunity. I'm standing here. They're giving me an idea for a title for the next series of videos.
But you're like open. Like I always tell people, listen for like whispers that happen around you. You know, always have an open mind, because you never know. Those girls, like if
they
you were
gave
in
me
that
the
video
title
store, right?
Exactly.
You might have gotten home with a really bad movie. Who knows? But you were there for a reason. Like that was pretty cool.
Absolutely. So I always look at things as, there's something you're going to get from it, and if you didn't, then okay, it wasn't meant to be, whatever. But so here I am with a master's degree, thinking, you know, okay, where's the big bucks? I have a degree, come on, and I'm running around from gym to gym teaching classes, and they pay you a big like $5 an hour then.
Yes.
And I remembered the girl that I was rooming with had to move, and I had a little dog. I'm a big animal activist.
Awesome.
I love animals. Maybe it's from growing up on a farm, but I had a little dog, and I wasn't going to give her up. And I couldn't find a place to live that would allow me to have her.
Right.
So I lived in my car for a while.
Oh my gosh.
I lived in my little Silica.
That's amazing.
And I would lay the seat down, and I had my blanket, my pillow, and my little dog, and I'd put a blanket or a towel up on the window, and I'd find various places to park.
Wow.
And my girlfriend Mindy, remember Mindy?
Yep,
Okay, so Mindy, I would always go and hang out with her, and then I would leave because I didn't want to, beg someone to.
Right.
And plus she, I already had a roommate, whatever.
Yeah.
And I remember what I do sometimes is just go around the corner and park. Yeah. Well, one morning she went around the corner, saw my car. And caught me.
You're
and
good
she
morning.
Hi. What are you doing? I'm like,
Wow.
And she's like, you can stay with me. And I don't know, maybe it was pride, but I just didn't want to do that, but I wasn't giving up my dog.
Right.
So as it was probably just about 2 to 3 weeks that I lived in my car. I did still shower because I had enough gyms that I could go and shower at and do all, hygiene stuff. But so then somebody said there was a job opening at the Golden Door. Do you know the Golden Door?
Yes.
Okay, so the Golden Door is not far from here. It's out toward Escondido. And the Golden Door, if you don't know this, you should definitely Google it.
Google it.
It, back in the days, would be considered a fat farm, right? That's what they used to be called. Now, the Golden Door Spa and Resort was probably one of the first in the whole business, and it's set in a Japanese style.
Yeah.
If you're a fitness person, you're given usually 3 to 4 guests, and you're in charge of those 3 to 4 guests.
Oh, okay.
So you have to check on them every day. You have to make sure they're working out. You put together a program for them. You put together, back in those days, it was audio cassette tapes, right? I'm aging
great.
myself.
I love it. Those were good times, though. Come on now.
They were. They were. We learned a lot.
Yes.
So when I went to interview, they said, well, first of all, we love that you have a master's degree.
That's good.
And I'm thinking,
bring it on.
degree, it's coming now. It's finally paying off. And she says, and you look like a woman. And I'm like, okay, I'll take that as a compliment. And she says, well, this is how it works. We like for you to try us for a week. And if the staff likes you and the guests like you, then we'll hire you.
Right.
So speeding up, we, at the end of the week, sat back down and they said, well, the guests loved you, the staff love you, and we'd like to hire you. And I'm just, busting out of my chest going, all right. And because you have a master's degree, okay? And I'm sitting here waiting for it.
Yes.
We're going to start you at $5 an hour. And I almost, my mouth dropped open, almost like, what? Something just slapped me up behind the head and goes, shut your mouth and take this. This is going to be an opportunity.
Okay.
So I quickly shut my mouth and I'm thinking, okay, I don't know why, but I'm supposed to take this.
Wow.
And I took it, $5 an hour. But let me tell you what I learned. So I'm thinking I know everything because I have a master's degree.
Yeah.
There's so much more to learn. There's always room for learning, right?
Always, yeah.
You probably learn for every guest that you interview, you learn something.
Always.
As we do
I'm
from
learning
you.
right now.
So you're learning you want to go to the Golden Door.
I do. Let's go after this.
So it is, I worked there for 3 years. It was the last, I guess, employment that somebody hired me and said, this is, you know, then from there I went out on my own. But I got to go to Japan. I went to Korea. I went to the Great Wall of China. In fact, we were in the Great Wall of China like 3 times. And I decided, now remember, I'd already done the whole, oh yeah, I can use rubber bands to do a workout, right? Yeah. Which I was doing at the Golden Door. So I got the other girl that was on the ship with me from the Golden Door, and I said, you know what, I think I'm gonna write a book. I'm going to write a book about exercises with rubber bands. So what I'd like you to do is, you know, those portable cameras, those Polaroids?
Polaroids. They're back. They're back now, but yes.
Yeah. So I had her take a picture, and here's starting position, you know, finished position, and then I glued it in a book, and then I wrote.
That is so great.
I wrote it.
Oh my
gosh.
gosh.
So I wrote this with these dumb, ugly little pictures, really bad lighting. And so when I got back, I was on for 4 months and came back, and it was couples weeks.
Okay.
And there was a gentleman, and he was there with his wife, and I was showing him the rubber band. He goes, you know, that's a really good exercise. You should maybe make it in a book. Well, as a matter of fact, and he must have just cracked up looking at my, you know, glued in pictures, and he goes, you know, maybe you should talk to my wife, who was there that week. She's a book agent.
That's
like, really?
Chills, like really? Yeah. That's amazing.
So I talked to her, and she's probably looking at this going, yeah, whatever, okay, lady. And she goes, well, I'll see what I can do. And I'm like, that's all I care about. Right. But I didn't know what to do. You know, I didn't know how to get a book agent. Right. There's my book agent. That's crazy. And then I had to fill in for somebody on a ship, and we did like the Caribbean or something, and came back, and I remembered I had some time off, and I went to Norway because I had met this Norwegian guy on the ship. Love those Norwegian men. And so I'd gone to Norway, and the book agent's name was Ruth, and she had sent me, she goes, well, I'm going to send out a proposal, and I've sent it out to like five different publishers, and basically they're like, you know, give us Jane Fonda, but who's Tamilee Webb? Right. And I'm like, well, don't have them focus on me. Focus on what the program is, rubber band. Yeah.
So and no one was doing this. So,
nobody, well, nobody, you know, they were doing it in rehab and stuff. Yeah. So I remember I was in Norway, and I get a call from her in the middle of the night because of the time difference, and she was in New York. She goes, you've got to come back. We have a meeting in New York with the publisher, Workman Publishing. Wow. And I was like, that's amazing. Really? Really? And so I'm like, okay.
Goodbye, Norwegian boyfriend.
Yeah, bye. Hada. So get on a plane, go to New York, and you have to remember, I'm a farm girl. Yeah. You don't take the farm out of the girl. Right. There's a lot of things I'm good at and some things I'm not good at. And what I'm not good at, I'll find somebody that's good at it or I'll learn. Yeah. And a lot of times it's a learning process. So I remember her, we got in the elevator, and she goes, now listen, she goes, you know, don't expect a lot. These things take a lot of time, and, you know, just kind of follow my lead. And I'm like, okay. And so we go in, and I remember going in this big room, and there's books everywhere, and it's messy. And Mr. Workman comes in. Oh my goodness. Mr. Workman himself, and the chief editor, not some little editor.
Freaking out?
Well, to me, I didn't realize that that was like, those are the big guns.
People, right.
But I could tell from her expression, she was like,
oh my gosh.
And so we're sitting there and they're talking and they really like it because they're a company. Workman Publishing is a company. If you guys ever have anything that's very creative, they were kind of known for cookbooks.
Okay.
Cookbooks, gardening, anything that was creative. And that's why they were interested in this, because it was a rubber band. It was creative. Now, how can we, and they start talking about the exercise. She asked me something. She goes, yeah, but you know, we don't have a muscle in our shoulder. And I went,
oh my gosh.
What? How do you lift your
funny.
arm?
Yeah.
And so I basically almost jumped on the table and I'm showing them all these things and they're just, and they're talking back and forth and they're like, well, if we did it now, we could get it out by the fall and blah, blah. And I'm looking at Ruth and she was just like, her eyes are this big. And so we were in there probably an hour and a half and we're walking out in silence. We get in the elevator and I'm looking at her like, I go, well, so what do you think?
Yeah.
You know, I'm all excited.
Yeah.
She goes, that never happens.
Oh my God.
That's just never happens. And I go, what? She goes, well, one, to meet with the chief editor and the president, and they want to get this out within 6 months.
And you were on the table showing them what to do. I love it.
So she goes, well, I guess they're going to try and give us a deal. So I remember going to a friend's house, and she called me. She goes, well, we got a deal. We got an advancement. And I go, an advancement? What's that? And she goes, they're going to pay you money in advance to do the work. And I go, really? How much? Yeah. She goes, $18,000. Okay, now to someone that's making $5.
Yeah.
Well, okay, by then I was making $8, I think. I was like, wow.
Wow, that's cool.
And from then, I realized I was busy in New York with the book. I was also, I had been asked to, do you know IDEA? IDEA, International Dance Exercise Association. They kind of had just started, and they had heard that I had this theme class at the Golden Door and asked me to teach it at their first IDEA conference.
Oh my gosh.
So I did, and then what happens is then instructors start asking you, will you come and teach it at our club?
Right.
Will you train our teachers?
You're getting a reputation now. People are knowing who you are.
So I worked at the Golden Door for 3 years. And then I went out on my own, traveling the world, teaching teachers how to do the rubber band workout, theme classes, and all the knowledge that I had about the human body. So it wasn't just that, because I had done, I was asked to do, it was probably one of the first training, it was called Fit Camp. And there was 5 of us, and we'd go across the United States and we'd train teachers. And we not only train them how to teach classes, kinesiology, anatomy, stretching, dance, counting music. A lot of people don't know, you know, how to count music, 32 phrases, 8 counts, whatever. And so that's what I ended up doing. And so I went to work for myself, got the book published, and that was my big first product.
That's so
was the rubber band workout.
I love it.
Yeah,
and
not even Buns of Steal.
No, that's amazing.
Yeah.
But I mean, I love the story of just, you know, you go to Golden Door, you're like, I'm making $5, but you knew that something else, like you just trusted.
Golden Door is golden.
Yeah.
I look at the Golden Door as my golden ticket because I'm so glad I shut my mouth, took the $5, and I traveled the world. I met my agent. I had my first trip ever to New York because the guests would give us tips. I'm like, tips?
Yeah.
Oh, no, okay, so they must know I'm making $5 an hour. And so the Golden Door was definitely a great opportunity. And so I tell people, don't ever just take something because it's offering you money or turn it down. There could be, you never know who you're going to meet.
Never know.
Right?
Oh my gosh, or what it will bring into your life.
Yes.
That's so neat. I can't even imagine. That is so cool.
So,
and the people that you got to train and what you learned and about yourself too and everything. I mean, just that's so cool.
And I don't think people really know the history of Buns of Steal.
I would love to hear it.
Do you know it?
No.
Okay, so this is where you go.
I want to hear it.
So here's the story of Buns of Steal. If you're going, okay, I'm tired of listening to her. I have to go to work.
Right. we'll come back, right? Do you think? Okay,
Absolutely.
so this will be part 1 because I wanted to hear really about how you know, your story, because
I haven't even gotten to Buns of Steal
oh my gosh. Okay, so
So
we're
this
gonna
is
take a break.
from the farm.
We're gonna go, yeah, that was from the
To
farm to
fitness.
fitness, and then we're gonna go fitness to fame. Okay, stay tuned or come back. Okay, go to work, go do your thing, come back.